Hey folks, today we're tackling a hot topic among drivers. Should you park with your wheels straight or turned? Let's dive in. Maybe you've never given this much thought before. Does it really matter how you leave your wheels when parking? Well, in some cases, it actually does matter. Take a stroll through any parking lot, especially in residential areas, and you'll spot cars with their wheels turned all the way. Some drivers park with wheels straight, others turned. This raises a question. Is it intentional or just habit? If you ask experienced drivers about leaving wheels turned when parked, you'll notice two camps. Some say it's fine, even necessary, while others insist you should never leave wheels turned when parked. So, let's first examine the opinion of drivers who claim you should never leave wheels turned when parked. One main argument they make is that fully turned wheels somehow damage the suspension, including ball joints, CV joints, and so on. Guys, even a newbie driver might say this is nonsense. The car's parked, not moving. We're moving, turning the wheel fully, all normal. So, how's a car with turned wheels harmful? Damaging the suspension? That's a myth. Second, some say never leave wheels turned when parked, claiming it harms power steering. More we turn the wheel, more load it bears. They say starting the engine with wheels fully turned harms it. It creates pressure, risking leaks in old pipes. This might sound true, but here's the thing. When you turn the wheel, before turning off the car, you release the wheel. It slightly turns back, so there's no load on the power steering. These are the main reasons drivers say not to leave wheels turned when parked. Some do the opposite, fully turning the wheel when parking. Their reasoning can be absurd. Many told me that turning the wheel fully prevents. When it comes to car towing, some drivers try to outsmart the system. They intentionally park under no parking signs, turn their wheels all the way left or right, thinking it'll prevent towing. What they don't realize is that modern tow trucks are far more advanced. These trucks can partially lift cars onto special dollies, regardless of wheel position or gear. In fact, they can even lift entire vehicles with ease. So these tricks, they're pretty much useless. Which tows cars away basically on a flatbed where your wheels are exposed. So, if someone tells you not to get your car towed, just turn the wheels all the way in any direction. That's a myth, guys. It won't help. Keep that in mind. Now, the second myth I'd mention is about drivers who say you should turn the steering wheel all the way when parking. They claim a turned wheel sticks out slightly, protecting the body from damage. For instance, if a novice driver misjudges a tight spot, they'd hit the wheel, not the body. Well, friends, that's definitely a myth. The wheel's at the bottom, the outermost part of the car. When we're moving, especially turning, it's usually the bumper, front, rear, etc. that's exposed. So 95 to 99% of the time, a turned wheel won't save your car if someone hits it. I'd even say, on the contrary, a turned wheel is more dangerous. If hit at speed, it can cause more damage, potentially tearing out the CV joint or suspension, leaving the wheel perpendicular to the car. It's a 50-50 situation. There are two arguments for keeping wheels fully turned and two against. Let's examine this logically. Looking at the car from above, in one case the wheels are straight, in the other fully turned. Notice that turned wheels stick out slightly, sometimes significantly beyond the body. If you park in a tight spot with wheels fully turned, you're actually reducing the available space. Seriously, sometimes people walk by and I occasionally drive through the yard, you know? The side mirror, if it sticks out, can really obstruct and impede passage. That's an argument you can't dispute. Secondly, I don't recommend leaving wheels fully turned, especially for beginners. It doesn't matter if it's left or right. I'll explain why. Sometimes a novice driver, often in a hurry, especially when feeling confident, gets in, starts up, and drives off. But where are the wheels pointing? Imagine you've parked with wheels turned all the way right against the curb or just facing it. There's a car parked relatively close in front of you. You're in a hurry, so you start moving while turning the wheel left, but the wheels were still turned fully right. You've made 3 turns in a split second. When a novice rushes, they gas it and can't turn the wheel in time, hitting a parked car. Another small issue. If you often leave wheels fully turned or park long term in an older car, I'll mention suspension. I said earlier that wheel position doesn't affect suspension, which is true, but there's one part, the CV joint, it can wear out. If you catch it early, great, but if dirt gets in, the joint may fail. It'll start to crunch and be costly to fix. The rubber's cheap, but the joint itself isn't. So it seems we can conclude, it's best to avoid this. Turning wheels fully is common but not always ideal. Sometimes when we park on a slope or hill, we might face uphill or downhill. At times, the handbrake might fail. You've always raised it 5 or 6 clicks when parking on a hill. It was fine, but it might barely hold. A strong wind or a bump could make it roll. Many leave their car right on the edge. A slight push could make it roll. My point is, when parking on a slope, consider if it might roll unexpectedly. Think where it could go. I recently shared a video where I parked near a river and said to turn the wheel fully right in case it rolls. Anything can happen. It might roll back right, but not into the river or even the tickets. We've got a question about proper wheel placement. You predict unintended car movement and plan accordingly. In some cases, we turn the wheel towards the curb. For example, when you're facing downhill with a curb on your right. Just in case, you turn the wheel slightly right. If the car rolls back, the rear will go right, hitting the curb. The front will also hit it. It's like the curb's got it trapped. No matter which way you push, it'll always hit the curb. Some might say this is unlikely, but folks, trust me, it does happen. So, what's the takeaway here? Always keep your wheels straight. Make it a habit. When you get in the car, no matter where you're turning, remember this rule. Wheels straight is ideal, not mandatory, but a good habit. Wheels turned is for slopes, preventing rollback. Consider where the car might roll depending on if you're facing uphill or downhill. I'd like to ask for your thoughts in the comments. Let's discuss. Maybe you have other driver myths about why to do things certain ways. But today, that's all. Don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and as always, I wish you all safe travels. Goodbye, everyone.